the Republican experiment here was really about the sanctity of the individual, in one might be one way of putting it. You know, there was an enormous effort put into trying to ensure that government was downstream of culture, and that was driven, of course, by the beliefs of the day. So you could say beliefs shaped the culture and values.
Sure.
They then shaped the government, and the government was to be kept in its place.
Right.
We're reversing that in a big way. Now we're becoming downstream, it seems, of government and its handmaidens, the wealthy elites, and the technocrats or the expertocracy. And it seems to me that this, in part, has led to this sort of almost suffocating mission creep where government is involved more and more and more and more in every aspect of our lives.
Right.
And I don't know, people seem to almost welcome somebody else making a lot of decisions for them. But B, it's led to an enormous level of cynicism and disengagement at the same time.
Right.
It's as though over-familiarity by government has bred contempt.
Absolutely. And virtually all of our institutions are held in contempt. The percentage of Americans going to college has gone down. Now, my own view is it ought to go down by about a third, because I don't have this problem teaching at Hillsdale, but I taught at the University of Tulsa for 24 years. And I would say about a third of the entering freshmen, there was no purpose in their being in college.
They'd be better off with a good trade.
Yes, they weren't there to learn. And I'd give a talk early on when I was young and stroppy at the beginning of term in which I would say, somebody told me the other day that there's some people who come to this university who want a degree but not an education. And I'd say, I can't believe anyone would waste money on that. But if there's anyone in the room today, this isn't the class for you, if that's your view. 1/3 would self-identify and drop.
Really?
1/3.
Really?
Yes, and this is a private school, not a public school.
You amaze me.
And I became department chair, and I discovered that the administration judged departmental needs on the basis of enrollments, and that they counted anybody who'd been there after the first week as enrolled. And so I stopped giving that talk. And what would happen is they would take the first exam and fail it, and I would never see them again. They would fail the class because they didn't even come, didn't take the other exams. Now, they shouldn't have been there in the first place. And the university was committing a crime in accepting them. They wanted their money. And that's, you know, the number of 18-year-olds in the United States about 15 years ago just dropped off a cliff. The end of the baby boomlet. The children of the baby boomers eventually finally got married, had children, and then it stopped. So almost every American university is desperate for warm bodies. And that includes famous places like, say, Oberlin College, which I think in the last 10 years has made their class, so to speak, twice.
Really?
Yeah, they can't get them to come. Now it's very expensive. And it would be very good for the country to downsize higher education. It's just, there's too much of it. And in my time in higher education, it's gone from being a rather Spartan operation in which the food was not very good, to being rather luxurious. And most of our universities now are a cross between a country club and a brothel. And that's about all they are. And you could, I don't think there's a state university in the United States that you couldn't get through without doing reading. I can remember I had a student who transferred into the University of Tulsa from the University of Oklahoma. And I said, what was it like? And she said, well, you could go to class or you could do the reading, but you certainly didn't need to do both. So it's been dumbed down. And the financial pressure of the drop in the number of 18-year-olds has caused a further dumbing down. And then there's something else that's going to flood this. We used to have, for a considerable period, we had vast numbers of Chinese students. And they paid tuition at the sticker price, no discounts. So huge money for schools. A high proportion of them did not speak English well enough to do things. So you had to have courses they could pass. And it's corrupted higher education in a great variety of places. In East Lansing, Michigan State University, there were whole neighborhoods that were Chinese. Now that's dropped off. So there's going to be an economic crisis in higher education, much greater than what we've seen. There are going to be schools that close, lots of them. It's an opportunity to rethink who should go to college. And it isn't everybody. And sending everybody to college means college has to be reconfigured as something everybody can do. The other thing is the curricula are terrible. They're things you need to know about your own world, about the world beyond our shores. You can get through without doing any of that. It could be that the crisis of the neoliberal global order, which we have now entered fully, as it's become visible with the Chinese move into the South China Sea, the crushing of Taiwan, of Hong Kong, and the Russian move into Ukraine. It could be that causes a sobering up. And
we just hope
we have the emergence of responsible statesmanship, which is not what we have right now.
Well, we hope it does, and we hope it happens in time.
Yes. And the trouble is, when you're thinking in military terms, what counts as in time has gotten shorter and shorter.
Yes.
I mean, given the fact that America was sort of a great aircraft carrier far from everywhere with industry, World War II, there could be a gradual buildup. The next time there's a war, it may be over in a week or 2 weeks. But it's a reminder of what historians know or ought to know, which is that the order that we live in, that we take for granted, is fragile.
Yeah.
And it can just disappear overnight. As people in France learned after 1789, you can wake up one day and it's gone. And then you are in desperate condition. And I hope we don't get that far. It would be a wonderful thing if there was an insurgency within the Democratic Party against the craziness. It's happened before.
Yes.
And it could happen again.